UFC Fight Night 219 just took place at the Apex at Vegas, and I'm going to have a detailed look at the breakdown of the main card right now. Now, the last fight on the prelims got me pretty energized after a mostly forgettable rest of that card and a particularly horrible performance by... I've already forgotten the prick's name. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Really gathering pace, it seems, and want to keep the momentum going. We are 5-1 for start on the cards. Let's hope this keeps up. To open up the main card was a fight between Miller and Hernandez. Now, I picked the dog Miller on this one. Hernandez is back up at lightweight after an unsuccessful dip back at featherweight. Now, the first round started with a really nice feel-out process. This was a hell of a war, by the way. Miller, I thought, had the best of the early exchanges and took an early eye poke, which really damaged around his eye and I think kind of played into things a bit later on. Miller was swinging and missing at times, but I thought he really got the best of it. I gave him the first round in what, as I said, was a pretty scrappy start, but a really close round. The second round was where I thought Alex might gas, but he stayed really composed in there. He picked his shots nicely, and you could see Miller was winging crazy and missing just to keep him at bay. I thought Miller might try and take this to the ground at some point, but he didn't, and Alex really stayed composed in there, working the body really well, and was stepping out of range really nicely, avoiding shots, doing really well in that regard. There were no signs of gassing, and he really clearly took the second. Really impressed with the changes he's made in there since the last few fights he's had. It seems like he's being a bit more clever, taking his time. Now, in the third, Miller really went out blazing. He hit some really nice leg kicks to start out, was really exchanging, got really scrappy again, and to be honest, I thought Hernandez probably hit the more impactful clean shots, with Miller getting a few licks in, but not as impactful. With about a minute left to go in the fight, Miller finally got him down after Hernandez made a mistake, and he almost got Alex locked in a rear naked choke, and I thought that might be enough to maybe swing the round in a very balanced fight at that point. The thing is though, Alex managed to escape with about 10 seconds to go, and he finished with a really nice flurry on top. So I really felt unsure. I would have gone 29-28 either way, but Alex ended up getting the nod in a UD, and two of those were 30-27s, so that was a little bit perplexing to me. Can't say I agree with it, but no complaints about the outcome really. 29-28 on the other card I had no issue with. He was really composed, patient in there, really learning from his mistakes. Such a contrast as well in his respect that he showed to Miller, especially compared to the disrespect he showed to Cowboy a few years ago. That really melted my shit-covered heart. This time he came out on top, and I'd like to see what he can do moving forward. He said he's going to go back down to featherweight, and if he can keep this composed, let's see. I'm willing to give him another shot. I'm not sure I'd pick him, but it was a really nice win. So this took me to 5-2 on the card, and what I felt was a really bad banana skin coming up next. Right, to call this a tactical fight would be extremely generous. To call this a shit fight would be factual. The whole first round was Prachnio kicking at range, working the legs, throwing the occasional head kick. He really had no incentive to do anything else, and it was clearly frustrating night early on. He was peppering the fight with leg kicks, and they seemed pretty insignificant at the time. As I'm about to go into, they really built up and caused a problem for Knight later on. Now, if I was betting on Knight, I would have really been laying an egg at this point. He did nothing to close the distance. He clearly lost the round despite very little happening. Prachnio just kept working the legs and deading the legs, and that was basically the story of the fight. Round 2 was somehow even worse though. Prachnio pretty much continued spamming leg kicks to the thigh, and Knight just pretty much took it. Knight did manage a moment of pressure with a minute to go in the second after catching a kick, but instead of swinging, trying to take his head off like I thought he might, he held his leg in a very similarly silly way that Craig did when he got flatlined by Walker a couple of weeks ago. Prachnio went back to the leg, and that's how the round finished. Third was pretty much the same, more kicking at range. This fight was bad, really, really bad. Credit to Prachnio, he did the job. Knight might want to head back into Amazon tomorrow and ask to go full time. This shot of Knight's face pretty much summed up the entire fight. He needs to stop lifting weights like a fuck nugget. You're 5'10". Go on a diet, go to middleweight, or just go away. Nice win for Prachnio though. He did what he went in there to do. But I picked him, so it took me to 6-2 on the card. I sound a little bit despondent because it was terrible to see someone go in there and fight the way that he did. It was embarrassing. Picked the dog, it paid off. There was a shot of Jared Leto outside the cage, which was far more interesting than this fight. Moving on. Oh man, okay, now it's time for the Rotund lads. The compulsory bottom feeder heavyweight bout that we seem to be getting on every card these days. I heard Parisian say he's in the best shape he's ever been in. Okay, you mess. I was hoping this one would be a banger. That last fight almost took away my will to keep doing this. Now, Pogues started this fight by headhunting early, and he smartly used this setup to time a really nice double leg takedown. He managed to get some really nice significant control time off the back of this, but he didn't really do much damage. There was a slight threat of a choke, which, despite being really crappy, scores quite well at heavyweight due to the fact that they don't do much. Parisian did well to get back up to the ground, and he hit Pogues with the most significant strike of the fight. He kicked him right down the middle, and it looked like he broke his toes, which, you know, while it was a really nice shot, it probably did him more harm than good in the long run. There was some exchanging in the clinch, Pogues controlling well up close. He got another massive takedown. He was hitting rabbit punches while down on the ground. Really smart game plan from Pogues, who was getting him down and not really expelling much energy to do so, so full credit for that. Round 2 was another story of Pogues just picking very fast, snappy jabs. I was surprised he didn't go to this more because he was clearly quicker in there. He was maybe just, you know, a bit concerned about Parisian's power. But yeah, surprised he didn't keep it there. Now, Pogues got him down again quite early into the round, and Parisian did really well to try to snatch up a Kimura and force it back to the feet, but he got taken down again immediately. For a big boy, he seems really easy to dump on his ass. As the round went on, Parisian started to work his way into the round a little bit. He managed to level up the significant strikes in the round at one point. I think the takedowns gave Pogues the edge, though, as at heavyweight, they're so powerful that they kind of count as knockdowns. When a big guy takes another big guy down, it's really impactful. So I had Pogues 2-0 going into the thirds. Round 3 continued with the clear speed advantage, caught him early. Now, a low blow early in the round paused the action, and this worked really well for Pogues, who was looking a little bit tired in there, and he smartly took time to recover. He got another nice double leg takedown really powerfully off the break, and he spent a nice portion of time on the ground laying on top. He didn't do a lot of damage, and yeah, he basically just laid there, so I'm not sure how well that scored, but the takedown definitely did. When they got back to the feet, Pogues hit a few nice knees, and the fight was pretty much seen out with a bit of back and forth, light exchanges. I think Parisian ended a little bit stronger, so I can definitely see an argument for why people might have given Parisian the third round. Pogues looked good in there for what he is, and it was a clear UD win. He could do pretty decently amongst the other bottom feeders in the division because his takedowns are quite on point. His stand-up is quite snappy, and yeah, he got a nice win here. I said it would go to distance, and it did. Yeah, Pogues by UD, and this took me to 7-2 on the card. So now it was on to the co-main event. Poor main card so far generally, but hopefully we can have some fireworks to end it. Okay, Wright seems like a really nice fella, so I want to do my best to avoid shitting on him too much here, but it's really going to be difficult. Most of the first round was Pauga, and he had a clear game plan to keep him against the cage, do damage on the break. This was a horrible fight, another one. And to be fair, he did a great job doing this. It wasn't the most exciting fight to watch, but as game plans go, it was really smart against a guy in Wright who was really dangerous early. Pauga took effective moments to separate and land massive damage at these moments though. The worst of them was a really big left cross elbow that cut Wright open. Now the second round looked like more of being the same, but Wright managed to get some separation. We had a nice section of the round taking place in the middle of the cage. Jordan really needed to grab this moment and use his long-range kicking game, but he really stuttered and we ended up back against the cage again, unfortunately. Similar story to the night fight in that Wright was giving Pauga no reason to take risks or do anything else. This entire fight, well, the first 2 rounds, took part in Pauga's realm up close, and Jordan just couldn't find opportunities to get into the fight. To his credit, he managed to get to the end of the second and enter the third for the first time in his career. Wright went for some nice elbows at the end of the second, and Pauga reached for a double leg, and you know, as he was doing the elbows, I think he just thought, screw this, I'm just going to abandon this game plan, went back to clinching. It was a half decent exchange at the end of the round, but clearly 2-0 for Pauga. I've said his name about 5 different times during this video, but not much to get excited about. Fortunately, the third started at striking range. Both men finally had some notable exchanges. I wanted to see Wright get to the end of the round, but just as I thought he was going to do it, he got knocked down in like a really goofy exchange. He managed to survive, bring it back to the feet into a counter-striking battle, which sadly sounds a lot more exciting than it was. The round played out with both men exchanging tired shots. Nice little slugfest at the end for what it was worth. Wright got to the bell, so he can hang his hat on that, but he clearly lost the fight. If he gets another shot, he really needs to go back to middleweight, where he's just bigger than everyone. The fight was called a UD for Pauga, who is going to get slapped around at light heavyweight. Anyone in the top 15 batters him. He lost to Usman's brother, who is, can't remember his name, terrible. He lost to that guy. So I was happy anyway. This took me to 8-2 with 1 fight left. So in my mind, a successful card regardless of what happened at the main event. Now, the short replacement fight between Andrade and Blanchfield was up next as the main event. I took Blanchfield as a pretty big underdog here, and I felt this was either going to be her getting her beak broken and battered, or throwing around Andrade like the muscular ragdoll she is, and doing what she wanted to her on the ground. There were pretty big implications for a division that desperately needs fresh and dangerous contenders, and so this really mattered. This is a fight that had really big implications. Now, I obviously picked the winner like the genius I am, but the way this person won was a little surprising. So the first round started off with Andrade catching her right on the mouth, and I instantly had a feeling that I'd picked terribly. What surprised me is that she took the smack like a champ, as in Blanchfield did, and started marching forward. She caught Andrade nicely on the feet a few times and really held her own in there, showed a nice chin. Now Blanchfield then went for a takedown, which was pretty easily held off, and I felt like this was going to be a really significant moment. It was not. The fight remained mostly on the feet, and this was concerning as it played out. But Andrade seemed really thrown off by this tactic and was doing a really bad job tucking her chin and going for her usual power shots. It was a fairly close round, and you could call it either way. Blanchfield, for doing so well on the feet, probably seemed like she edged it, but I think Andrade had the cleaner shots and may have edged it based on that. But Blanchfield laid down a great marker, and I was confident moving into the second. Now the second started with a little exchanging on the feet again, with Blanchfield tagging her and looking really unafraid to trade, which I really didn't expect. Then Erin stepped in for a really nice clinch and got a truly exceptional trip, passing immediately into side control, and what surprised me even more was that there was pretty much no resistance. Synced in a rear naked choke before even fully taking the back. It was so slick, and Andrade was tapping before we even realized what happened. Blanchfield actually let go of the hold before the ref called it, who managed to miss it again somehow. Now, I can't state this enough. Blanchfield is 23 years old. This was such an impressive performance. Andrade is an amazing competitor. She's faced the who's who in nearly every division that's worth talking about. So this was a really impressive win. For a 23-year-old to come in and do this was phenomenal. Now, she called for a title shot, which may be a little premature, but she might just get it off momentum in a really crappy division. So yeah, she won the fight by rear naked choke. This finished me off 9-2 on this card, so despite my reservations going in, made some good money on this one and had my best performance this year. Okay, now I'm standing at a very respectable 38-18 this year, which I'm really chuffed with. It was not the best card in the world, but the coin in my pocket and the boosted record really brightened my day. I've got a boosted percentage now of 68% to round off the year, which is really nice as well. So yeah, anyway, I will sign off now. Remember to like and subscribe if you pop by. It's always appreciated. And catch you with the predictions for UFC Span and Krylov, which I'll probably drop on Tuesday. In a bit.